Yep.
There's the dinger. All right. I would like to call to order the June 11th, 2024 Columbia Borough Council meeting. Could I have a roll call, please?
Councilperson Zink,
Here.
Councilperson Kaufman,
Here.
Councilperson Stahl,
Here.
Councilperson Fisher. Here. Councilperson Price. Here. Councilperson Murphy.
Here.
Councilperson Brigard. Mayor Lutz.
All right. I do believe we have someone that would like to offer an invocation. If you would like, please rise.
Good evening, everybody. Pastor List from the Columbia Church of God. Please bow our heads together in prayer. God, we ask for a flourishing community where the neighbors learn to love each other and come to know Jesus. We pray that we can be good stewards of your love to each and one another as neighbors. We ask that you help us to learn from our community and it may become a place where all are welcome. It's in the name of Jesus that we ask these things.
Amen. Councilperson Fisher, would you like to lead us in a pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Announcement of executive sessions. At this time, 7:02 p.m., we would like to adjourn to executive session to discuss a personnel issue. We will return. Everyone ready? All right, I am reconvening the Borough Council meeting at 7:27 PM. As a result of items discussed in the executive session, I'd like to add item 12E to acknowledge the resignation of Borough Manager Stivers. And I'd like to add item 12F to authorize the advertisement of the Borough Manager position. Are there any other additions, deletions, or reorganization needed?
I don't think so.
Could I have a motion to approve the reorganized agenda?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to approve the reorganized agenda. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Citizen comment, non-agenda items only. The first sign up we have is Sharon Lindner.
It's actually for the minutes for approval. You want me to wait till you get here?
Sure. Is there anyone else that did not sign up that would like to speak? Yes, Frank?
So funny, that come up. I was going, the one thing that I had on my agenda, I just heard a rumor. Our borough manager will be leaving in July. I kind of doubted that because I didn't see nothing that let me think that. And I figure this is the best place to bring a rumor like that because you're either going to confirm it or deny it, so you were way ahead of me. What you didn't tell us was when.
Well, we added it to the agenda, so that's an agenda item now.
So I can get up and speak then.
Yes.
Okay, there was something else that I forgot. Okay. Thank you.
All right, minutes for approval. Do I have a motion to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for April 2nd, 2024?
Second.
A motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second
Jeez.
by Councilperson Price. To approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for April 2nd, 2024. Questions, comments, concerns? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, could I have a motion to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for May 7th, 2024?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for May 7th, 2024. Yes, Sharon.
The only, yes, was part in the.
Is that microphone on?
Yeah.
Okay. Could I ask if you would be able to remove in the citizen comment section the part that says I accepted the explanation? If that can't be removed, I wouldn't say I accepted it. I'm just asking if that can't be removed, that it go in tonight's record that I asked for. One way or the other.
That is in item 6A.
Yes, the May 7th, I thought that's what you were waiting on now.
Right, I'm just pointing it out because no one else knew where you were
Okay, I had sent an email to request.
talking about.
But I didn't hear anything, so I just thought I'd ask you.
The full item says Sharon Lindner commented this evening that the agenda was not posted 24 hours in advance and questioned why this is not being done. Borough Manager Stivers admitted that he had made a mistake and posted the agenda in a different location than it should have been. Sharon accepted the explanation, moved on to comment on the homelessness in Columbia.
So you want to take out the words accepted the explanation
Just the
and?
part where it says accepted the explanation. I did move on after that. To the homeless.
I don't see a reason for that.
I don't either. I mean, you didn't say anything to the contrary, so
Did you respond at all?
No.
No.
Action
No, she
words?
moved on.
But
Or did you say thank you or?
I didn't say thank you, I normally do, but I said, I said, I believe exactly what I said was all right, and I moved on to the next topic because I didn't know.
all right is all right.
All right is a transition to the next topic.
What
It doesn't necessarily mean that I accepted that, I didn't say that I did. But if you're unwilling to do that, then I would just simply ask that you know that tonight I asked you to do that.
That's fair.
That's fair.
Thank you.
Why couldn't we
Now I'll
just,
say thank you.
why couldn't we just say what she actually said? Sharon then commented, all right, and moved on to, can we do that?
I don't see why you couldn't, because that's what happened. But
Then after she accepted.
Well, but it makes it right.
I think,
It is exactly what she said, so.
I think it's
I
different
didn't
than
say
it.
it.
Mhm.
Somebody is surmising that I accepted it, but if you want to leave it that way, just please note that I asked for it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right,
So then how are we going to address
It'll be addressed in this month's minutes.
it? So it'll just say this month that Sharon asked for it to be
Yes,
removed.
correct.
And we denied it?
no, because we have a motion on the table and no one is.
Exactly.
made
She
a
asked
motion to
for,
amend that.
well,
No
right,
one is
Yeah.
asking to amend that motion.
Yeah.
Or we can simply deny this motion and make a new motion.
Or can I ask to amend the motion? or- 'Cause
it's up to whoever made the motion.
It's up to whoever made the motion.
Yeah, that's fine.
You want to amend the motion?
She wants to.
Okay, then let's just put in what Sharon actually said.
Peter, are you okay amending your second?
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to amend the motion to say, approval of the minutes for May 7th with the correction of item 6A. The final sentence will read, Sharon responded, all right, and moved on to comment on the homelessness in Columbia. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? And then we'll just, Tiffany, I'll have to get those printed out. I'm not gonna sign the one in here then.
Right.
Next, could I have a motion to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for June 4th, 2024?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for June 4th, 2024. Questions, comments, concerns? All in favor? Anyone opposed? All right, presentation and acceptance of reports, community development, Councilperson Kaufman.
I'd like to acknowledge the receipt of the Columbia Market House report for May 2024. Any questions?
I do. I have a question first. Under the vendors, I saw lease release, lease signing, lease release, lease signing, and then there's two Fanson Produce, Future Produce Farm. Like, what is the purpose of those two vendors being in that section?
You mean that for the baker and the produce? So that was there for the survey and stuff? That's what.
No,
the-
it's-
Oh, no?
No, it's under vendors. You release this lease and then you sign the lease.
Right.
You release the lease and then you sign the lease.
Right.
And then you have plants and produce, Funk's Greenhouse,
Right.
Future Produce. What is the purpose of those two vendors?
That's just funks, that's the produce and the plants they're bringing in.
Okay,
Basically, that's what most of the people wanted for produce. So I brought them in, I picked everything up. Basically, it's one of the, basically honor system boxes, you just pay as they go, which we've been working out for the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks actually. So I'm teaming up with barley farms now too, to bring in more produce. So we want definitely farm fresh stuff from the local. So it's definitely working out. So barley is probably about a week away from having his stuff harvested and bringing to the market house.
So their produce is gonna be here, but somebody else is actually gonna be
No, it's just
selling
one of the honor system like produce things. So you just pay in the box, drop money in the box, and you can
it.
have
And then where does that money go?
back to them.
Back to them.
They're gonna be signing at least in the next couple of weeks. We just wanted to do a trial basis to see how it worked out.
That's just a trial.
Just a trial.
I think that's what she's getting at. Leases.
Right, the leases,
Leases.
right. So this was just a trial base, Mark and, Cam and I discussed it to see how it worked out, and it seems to be working out well. So basically, I just built on the corner, put a whole produce and plants in that corner, and people could buy farm fresh produce. So some of the unmanned stands, but they will be signing on these in the next couple of weeks, and barley too.
Their lease include retro active.
Probably on July 1st, we'll probably start them on July 1st. We're just doing this trial base to see how people react to it. Because they're unmanned stand, there's nobody manning the stands. But like they do down in Manor Township, they're just unmanned stands.
Would their lease be, would they not get paid less than the other ones?
No, I'm gonna charge them by the square foot of where they are. Right now, they're in the corner of what it is.
So Chris approached us with this idea, Tam and I, when we had our last market house meeting. I kind of struggled with some of the same questions you guys did about having a volunteer pay box, whatever you call it. But we agreed, we've been trying to get produce into the market. We thought, hey, they're willing to take on the risk, if you will, of their product not being maintained. If that worked, we agreed, let's just do it on a couple-week trial to see if this is going to work. And if it does, then Chris is going to get the lease together and make it permanent.
So
I thought it was a fair way to at least test the water, see how it's going to work.
So the nice thing about Punk's Greenhouse is Brianna, who basically manages that whole greenhouse with her father. She actually goes to St. Peter's and Trinity House every Wednesday and sets up for those people to come down and purchase fruits and vegetables off her. For vouchers and stuff, which I thought was a pretty amazing thing for her to do for our town. So she starts that up next week. So I think it's a good community development type thing. And some of her people are coming in the market house, St. Peter's, Trinity House, coming in to purchase some of that stuff. So which I thought was pretty neat concept. So, okay. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Legislation.
Yeah, I'd like for council to acknowledge receipt of the active legislation report for June 2024. I would also say that we had a good meeting again on Monday, Mark, myself, and Evan, and we're going to just modify the list a little bit to try to bunch certain items together that belong together and have to be passed at the same time. So just be easier to follow for everyone. So.
All right, Kelly, is the recess one on here? Just
No,
under
not yet.
the name?
It's working now.
I would say it is on the list. Yes, it is not on the agenda for. We've got, I think, 4 ordinances or resolutions on the agenda for tonight, but that one is continuing to be in the works. So that we have not lost track of that, I promise.
And I saw the second one, it says rental properties. It says see also amendment chapter 112. And I was looking for that amendment. Did that not come to that?
No, that's not ready yet. That is, I believe Jessica Fieldhouse is working
So
on
those,
that. Yeah.
real quick, those two sections are going together. Chapter 166 is the rental property section, and the only thing in there currently is the lead safe test. Under chapter 112, where it talks about the roles and responsibilities of the code official, buried in that chapter are all the regulations related to rental housing. So we thought, you know what, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. We're pulling everything out of 112 that deals with rental housing and moving it to 166 where it belongs, and then cleaning up some of the language and tightening up a few things. So that's why the two of them are kind of sister ordinances to get this through.
Nuisance is on this list.
Nuisance is,
Yeah, and that's what I for tonight, though. I thought you might bring it.
We can see it.
It's pretty much right in the middle.
Yeah.
It's in a white,
Yeah.
Consolidated into one company, special.
yes, that's the nuisance.
Consolidate into one ordinance.
Yeah,
That's
look.
the nuisance.
Yeah, look in the, in the code section column.
I see it. Thank you.
Yep.
Alright.
All right, any other question on legislation?
Uh,
Yes,
Where's she getting her information?
what do you mean?
Her information that she's reading off of?
It's in the
It's in the
package.
packet.
It's the legislative report, Frank. It's the Excel table that has all the ordinances.
I skipped some. Thank you.
Public Works and Property.
Yes, I'd like to acknowledge the Public Works and Property Report for May 2024. If there's any questions, Jake's here tonight.
The CDBG project is moving along nicely. There was, I think, just one small part of sidewalk that I didn't see this weekend.
They replaced the pole today.
So,
Brightspeed was in, so we have to coordinate getting that one. If you're out there, if you look out there today, there's one square missing. So we have to coordinate getting that one square in. Paving next week.
Awesome.
It's good to see that project done early this year.
Right.
It is,
Right.
it is. I did the garden tour this weekend and St. Peter's, prayer garden was on the tour. And, they were like, yeah, hopefully they'll be moving the cones off of here this week. I'm like, they will be.
Pete,
Boys of the River.
I don't know if you can answer or Jake. The Columbia Farm, they sell, or they have both, mulch and compost. And do they sell that?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's
Jake's
a,
shaking his head.
We have compost.
Strictly just compost?
Compost. Now, we do have some woody waste,
Okay.
which is not, it's basically before once it comes out of the grinder. It's like a rough stuff, but it's not mulch, so.
Okay, and we're still 2 Saturdays a month? 8 to 11 or something?
8 to 12.
8 to 12? Okay.
Second and fourth.
Second, fourth.
All right, thank you.
and that's free drop off for residents of, on the 2nd and 4th. And then residents can purchase vouchers for the compost, if I understand it correctly. Or you can load it by hand for free
Where do they purchase the vouchers?
at the borough office.
I was gonna say, I thought it was free if they load it.
It's free if they load it,
If you load
but I learned the backwards way that the vouchers are purchased down here.
And it's really good because I took my thing down there to get some for my garden and
I'll let you know how
Growing.
the potatoes turn out.
yes, I
I'll
need
let you
the
know,
potatoes. I'm gonna come up and yank some out or something.
to say this quick, Jake recently had contracted with a vendor down in Northern Maryland who is now bulk purchasing the compost for his business. So that's what we want to see is that kind of commercial sale of this material. So that worked out to be a great deal.
Yeah.
Jake, do you remember off the top of your head what last year's gross sales were on the compost?
For the compost?
Yeah,
Um,
I guess that
I don't, I want to say it's 25,000
okay.
just for the compost.
Just for the compost.
I don't have that.
That sounded about right to me because I was thinking that same thing.
But then they also pay to drop off.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it was over 100, 120 or something for the stuff that comes in.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions, comments? How is the street sweeping going so far?
Pretty good. Pretty much normal.
Normal?
You have your certain days that in certain areas that we have issues.
How was our compliance?
Still need people to move their cars.
Nice.
Yes. Running a lot of things.
Are we?
We are.
Maybe we need to up it like Harrisburg City.
No,
Oh no, Eric.
I can't afford you guys to.
That's right.
Neither can Jack. All right. Any other public works report questions? Presentations, we have none. Mayor Lutz, Chief Browner.
I have a couple items tonight. I don't know if any of you saw this or not. I got an email today. Emma Green, Miss Emma Green, passed away one day last week. Emma was 106 years old. I was at Emma's 100th birthday anniversary, obviously 6 years ago. And I just saw Emma, I'll say 2 months ago or a month or so ago when they had the open house for the new Habitat homes down on Fifth Street. She was in a wheelchair, but she seemed pretty spry. I was kind of surprised. She was a remarkable lady for her age. And so sorry to see that Emma has passed away. She may have been the oldest person in Columbia. I'm not sure about that. I'm sure she ranked something in the top 1 or 2. The other thing is, and Chief will probably help me on this, been a busy week for our officers. They've done some, to me, as far as I'm concerned, some great work. There were shots fired the other day, and the officers responded and were able to apprehend the person suspected of doing the shooting. We think the shooting was random, but the investigation is still continuing on that. And then I believe it was yesterday, the officers pursued someone in a car, and I guess they thought they were getting away, and they stopped the Andes, I guess, for a sub, when our officers caught up with them.
The driver abandoned the vehicle and walked away from the car, and I guess tried to blend in, at Andes, and was apprehended.
So, you may want to sell, but you might pay. And you have anything else?
I don't. Thank you.
I think well, just one thing. I think before we meet again, we will be going to the graduation of a new officer.
We will.
Oh, Rebecca.
So Rebecca Blatt, our 18th officer, will be graduating on the 28th, Friday the 28th. So we're very excited, and I assure you, she is very excited to get started.
Good.
We are receiving very good reports from the academy on Becca's progress.
No chance she's going to fail the final.
Oh, no.
Good.
No, the master's degree. Anything else?
I do.
All right. Action items. Could I have a motion to adopt resolution 2024-21 to clarify the term for Mary Wickenheiser to serve on the Borough Planning Commission?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Price, second by Councilperson Murphy, to adopt resolution 2024-21. The reason this is needed is there was an inadvertent mistake made and had her term listed as, and also the term for Nathan Roach listed as 5 years when it should be 4. So we just wanted to get that clarified in the resolution. Questions, comments, concerns? A motion by Councilperson Price, second by Councilperson Murphy to adopt resolution 2024-21. Clarify the term for Mary Wickenheiser to serve on the Planning Commission. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Could I have a motion to adopt resolution 2024-22 to clarify the term for Nathan Roach to serve on the Borough Planning Commission?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Murphy, second by Councilperson Stahl, to adopt Resolution 2024-22. Questions, comments, concerns? This is the same as the last one. All right. I have a motion by Councilperson Murphy, second by Councilperson Stahl, to adopt Resolution 2024-22, clarify the term for Nathan Roach to serve on the Borough Planning Commission. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, could I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2024-23 to authorize staff to sell a vehicle by auction?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Councilperson Stahl, second by Councilperson Murphy, to adopt Resolution 2024-23 to authorize staff to sell vehicle by auction. Questions, comments, concerns?
Is this through Enterprise?
This is through Enterprise, and again, the actual auction date and location will be put in the legal ad that goes in the paper.
And it's for Chevy Colorado, valued at $2,000 or greater. Which I'm sure the greater is.
The greater, yeah. That's just the number that's in the borough code that says you have to advertise for the sale of personal property if it's above that.
Yep.
Questions, comments, concerns? All right, I have a motion by Councilperson Stahl, second by Councilperson Murphy, to adopt Resolution 2024-23 to authorize staff to sell vehicle by auction. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, next, could I have, a motion to authorize staff and the borough attorney to advertise an ordinance to amend Chapter 220 zoning, to amend the table of uses and dimensional requirements for the light business district?
So moved.
A motion by Councilperson Murphy and a second by Councilperson Kaufman to authorize staff and the borough attorney to advertise an ordinance to amend Chapter 220 zoning. Questions, comments, concerns?
We had talked about this this morning, so.
Yeah, we reviewed this at the workshop. All right, and so this is to advertise it, and then we will have, at a later meeting, we'll have a hearing. We'll have a Zoom hearing. So I have a motion by Councilperson Murphy, second by Councilperson Kaufman. What?
No, just
Okay. So authorize staff and the borough attorney to advertise an ordinance to amend Chapter 220 zoning, to amend the table of uses and dimensional requirements for the light business district. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, could I have a motion to authorize staff and the borough attorney to advertise an ordinance to amend Chapter 220 zoning, to amend the official zoning map and amend the boundary of the conservation zone to include additional lands located on the borough-owned property located between Plain Street and South 13th Street?
So moved.
A motion by Councilperson Murphy, second by Councilperson Price, to authorize staff and the borough attorney to advertise an ordinance to amend Chapter 220 zoning, to amend the official zoning map, to amend the boundary of the conservation zone to include additional lands located on the borough-owned property located between Plain Street and South 13th Street. Questions, comments, concerns? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, could I have a motion to authorize staff and the borough attorney to advertise an ordinance establishing new regulations relating to the construction and maintenance of curbs and sidewalks in the borough?
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilperson Stahl, a second by Councilperson Murphy, to authorize staff and the borough attorney to advertise the ordinance establishing new regulations related to the construction and maintenance of curbs and sidewalks in the borough. It's been a long time coming.
You guys have talked this one to death already.
This has been a hard fought
Yeah.
to get to this point. Yes, Frank?
So in doing this, is the intent to make the people responsible that doesn't have curb and sidewalk to have it? Is that our point?
No.
What's our point?
The, basically, it's clarifying, it's clarifying the ordinance that already existed. PA Borough Code has always given the borough the power to require curb and sidewalks to be installed where they don't currently exist. So this ordinance doesn't add or subtract from that power. It's ultimately a council decision whether or not they want to see that happen. I think the biggest change that we saw here is the borough establishing better policy for how we do projects. You've always had in your ordinance that you can put sidewalk in and charge the residents for it. You've never really stated before what your policies are with CDBG projects or potential for cost share, or really establishing a policy that if the borough is going to redo a street or pave it, that we want to make sure the curbs are right and ultimately the ADA ramps are right. So to me, I know that we've talked about this a ton. Solicitor, I think you'll agree with me when we started looking through this and making some changes. They're not sweeping compared to what your old ordinance was. A big addition to this ordinance was criteria. Your old ordinance did not have criteria for establishing what is good curb and sidewalk versus what needs to be replaced. So I think if we did nothing else, that was probably the best thing we did, is establishing whether that's a good square or not a good square. And there's actual measurable criteria in there to say, is it off a quarter of an inch? Is it cracked? Is it sloped? It's not my opinion, your opinion, or the borough manager's opinion or council's opinion. There's measurable criteria in there to say whether or not it's acceptable. So
It just seems like it's something that really, really needs to be sit down and thought out. Because some people pay, some people don't pay. Some streets don't have it. Some streets do have it. Are we going to finally say, hey, this is the borough, we're going to connect our streets with curb and sidewalk? We got it on the Ironville Pike because they had a grant of some kind. I don't know what that is. They had a grant that did that. I just wish we did a better job of it. And we got to pay more attention to what was going on. But it probably would be good. It'd be nice to see the borough with curb and sidewalk. But who pays, who don't pay, who's going to get it, who ain't going to get it. We have someone that looks at people owe us for curb and sidewalk that was put in. So, okay, we're still working at it. Thank you.
I have a couple of questions. I'm looking at page 1 at the bottom of page A. I just want to clarify, when the borough actually takes over and does the project, then the people pay the borough, right? You don't.
Correct. That would generally be how it would be done, because if the borough is going to do a project, you want everyone to replace what's necessary to be replaced. And then you get the economies of scale, and it will be significantly cheaper than each person getting their own concrete contractor out there to do it. And it's also going to look a lot better. I think Derek could speak more to that, but that's the idea. And then the borough would, in advance, as you see here, the borough would let someone know that that project is coming so that they can, save up money or figure out how to get those funds if they have to pay, if there's not a grant of some sort. And then that money would go to the borough then. Yeah.
And then I had a question on page 3. For the other ones, you had the time limit as determined by.
Doing
For this one, you had the 60 calendar days.
Yeah. So that we can, honestly, if you guys would like to vote to advertise that tonight, we'll advertise it with that change. We've tried to go through and fix all those, and I think we must have missed one there. So
the issue is throughout the ordinance, it said 60 days. And I just put on the hat of a homeowner here, and if I got a notice in the mail that I had 60 days to come up with $8,000 to fix the sidewalk in front of my house before the borough steps in, that's not enough time. So we were going through taking the 60 days out and saying per the notice. So we're going to send a notice out, and Jake and I were talking about this almost in the same time frame that we notify utilities. We'll send a notice out to the property owners, probably give them more like 9 months or so. Say, hey, we're going to be paving your street next year. This is your responsibility to get ready. And that's what a lot of other communities have similar things to say, hey, we're planning next year's street projects. You're in that zone. Here's your responsibility. That's just one we missed.
Yep. Yeah, it's my fault.
Thanks for catching it.
Yep.
And the only other thing would be on page, this section G, we talked about the incentive programs. I think it would be very helpful for our rural residents to actually have those incentive programs in place so that when they call the borough, they would have something just to give them, you know what I mean, the G for financial incentive programs. Like, I don't know, maybe that's something we can work on there.
Yeah, the ordinance, I think the way that we have the ordinance crafted is you can change those financial incentives without having to change the ordinance.
Mhm.
This just sets you up to adopt policy, and that can change year by year, or really it's project by project. This is a, we can offer a special deal on this project, or,
Right.
yeah, that's right, going out of business. I don't know.
That's a no-go.
Sharon has a question.
Yeah.
Sharon.
Thank you. That's-
Sharon? Yes.
At one point, I was thinking that there was some discussion on first that we could provide another line. And reading this, it looks like sidewalks and curbs would be still along the street.
Repair of them is, but when we are putting them in, we are paying for the curb. But if there is a repair needed, that is coming on.
Okay, so that part of it gets for me a little sketchy because Align Pregnancy Center constantly has trucks running over the curb, and Jake knows that because
Mhm.
we've seen them together, but I mean, big chunks of concrete. And I can't imagine that they would pay to have that fixed, and then the next day a truck runs over it again. And you're not always there to see who's running over that curb. And they get away with it a lot. So I don't know, I'm a little torn on the curb part, especially in certain areas, and I know it wouldn't be fair to everybody to say.
Well, no, and I think we know that corner is an issue, and I don't think anyone's going out there and
Right, and making them.
making them repair their curb.
But eventually it becomes hazardous, because I think you a piece of metal, or something that came out of the street actually there, and there's chunks of concrete sometimes, it just becomes a bit hazardous, so, thank you.
With that being said, I have a hard time voting on something that we're not going to mandate everybody, same standard. So if you're going to sit here and say that the corner of Fifth and Chestnut is just a bad corner, so we're going to ignore it, then we can't go to have them want it and say, for you resident, you need it. We gotta make policies that are equal to everybody. And if we can't hold everybody accountable to the same policy, then we gotta change the policy.
In certain situations, like the said intersection, Fifth and Chestnut, I think when there's a continual problem where curb keeps getting broken off, then at some point that's an issue where we come and redesign it. We come to the table and bring a repair that keeps it from being run over and broken.
But if you look at Maple Street, one side street has, some of them have sidewalk, or the other side has grass. So you make the person on one side of the street pay to repair their curb, and the other side of the street, you say, well,
That's a good question.
when our ordinance says everybody has to have sidewalk.
Derek, at one point, you said you would provide a map for us.
Yes.
Of those
I thought someone might
grass.
remember that. That, Barb, we started that effort and it became way too cumbersome
Okay.
to try. When we were looking at the number of blocks in the borough to try to come up with a standard cross-section, I was up to about 13 and it just became way too cumbersome to try to incorporate in an ordinance, especially something that might have required revisions over time. So we started looking at that and finally I was like, this is crazy. So we changed the language in the ordinance to, I think it just says per borough engineer recommendation. So I think unfortunately it needs to be more of a case by case basis. And the way we'll accomplish that is whenever anyone here is applying for a permit to replace their curb and sidewalks, the borough staff would then consult with me and say, hey, does this fit the street? Does this make sense? If I could, I think the guiding principle to remember here is that curb and sidewalk are the responsibility of the property owner, per this ordinance and per the borough code. That is not changing. What is changing is that we, as the borough, are affirming that if we are doing a project on your street, we will take responsibility and replace the curb. But that situation where we're talking about curb maintenance, unless the borough green lights a project, it's the responsibility of the property. And I think we can get into a whole other discussion about enforcement of curb and sidewalk that are deteriorated. That's another, I mean, we've talked about that a little bit during the workshop. That's something that I think you all have to chew on moving forward, as to what you want to do with enforcement. But I want to be really clear that this ordinance, and by saying we're taking responsibility for the curb, it's only for projects that we're doing. The curb is still yours as a borough resident, along with the sidewalk. So if it's deteriorating, you can't call the borough office and say, hello, my curb's broken. It's yours now. Please fix it. That's not what this ordinance says.
Well, with regard to 15 Chestnut, if someone goes down Kinderhook Road and there's an accident and they bust my curb up, it's my responsibility to fix it. Same as 15 Chestnut. Trucks run over top of it. Now, I will agree that we should take a look at it along with PennDOT because it's a state highway. And possibly come up with a design, whether it just be a roll curb around there or something like that, or depressed, kind of like the handicap ramps. So that if they go around, they're not going to bust it up, they'll just ride up over it. I agree with that. To say, as you said, Eric, you got to do it, but you don't. No,
As far as like the streets, it's not just here, it's everywhere. You're gonna have that street where, for whatever, however the street was developed, or maybe a house was up there, you're built or added somewhere. You're gonna have that tooth there where, these people have a sidewalk, this one doesn't, this one does, this one doesn't. But, there's nothing we can really, come in right now and say, hey, you gotta put a sidewalk in there. Unless that's what you want. You could, but you could, but we haven't chosen to.
Correct.
The ordinance,
But-
the ordinance as it is
but-
says that you have to put a
No,
sidewalk
but I'm
in.
saying, but if we have a project that comes in, and then we have some that do and some that don't, then the borough's gonna step in.
You got to put it in. It's in your.
If the property changes hands and
Yes.
there's,
If
and
property
there
changes
is, and there is sidewalk on either side, you have to put it in.
That happened at 10th and Park.
Yeah, you're right.
Yep, no, yeah, that was a big one.
Good point, Heather. Are we enforcing that?
We have recently.
We don't do home sale inspections anymore. So unless somebody gets wind of it, that look, but by then it's kind of late to report that on your homeowner. So my best guess would be no.
So, I'm buying a lot. out on 13th Street from the borough. I decided to put a duplex or a home in there. I had to put curb and sidewalk in. That's my responsibility.
Right.
I think I know that.
I don't think the ones on either side you have curb and sidewalk, Bill.
So if there ain't no curb and sidewalk alongside me, I don't have to do it.
That's correct.
That's correct.
How would
But
ever
if people
want
say
No,
do they
that's
have
not
to?
correct. That's not correct.
That's what happened.
Ordinance
to
states,
get, you know, the curb-
ordinance states that you have to have curb and sidewalk.
Get it sold.
I think new construction, you gotta put curb and sidewalk.
That's my understanding.
Oh,
Current properties goes to what Heather said.
Yeah.
When the property's sold, the property's on either side of you have a sidewalk, you gotta fill it
If we're enforcing.
Yes, so then if Frank doesn't have sidewalks in, now his neighbors at the
And
grass
that's
all day
That's the
long.
goal.
Now
The
have
goal
to
is,
put them in.
the goal is to sign
It's everywhere.
the sidewalks.
You fill it in,
in.
yeah.
And we will achieve exactly what Frank was saying. It'll continue on.
As long as we're enforcing it, that's my. And the engineer said, when they do a project, well, what do you mean by a project?
The street paving
When
project.
we're doing a street street
So the-
paving, reconstruction,
Okay, does it stick to that?
Like you,
yeah,
It's a,
not just paving,
it's a pivot from simply paving streets with failing curb and sidewalk as we've done in the past. That's the major pivot, I think,
Right.
that you made from a policy perspective with this ordinance. And then along with that policy pivot, we've added some inspection criteria to help us make that determination as to whether or not a curb or a sidewalk is adequate. to run.
900 block of Locust is probably a poster tower,
Mm-hmm.
or Walnut, I'm sorry, Walnut. For that one side of the street, the curb is falling.
anything else?
I'm just curious, I'm not saying that we should, you talk about it. Or I'm not saying that, hey, this is a great idea. Why don't we just, has the borough ever said, put sidewalks in?
Yes,
Everybody needs to have sidewalks, like
not everybody.
in the next 2 years, everybody needs to have sidewalks.
We don't need, we can't even enforce the crumbling sidewalks as it is. They go on down and towards.
Yeah, I mean, we're not-
Why do you say we can't enforce the crumbling sidewalks?
I'm not saying we can't enforce this. I'm saying I think it's unrealistic to walk up and down our streets and see sidewalks that are deformed, decayed, whatever, and everyone gets repaired. And that'd be devastating if you went through the county name and did everybody. So it's unrealistic.
Well, that was just done with chipping and peeling paint. Whole blocks were
I don't-
cited
I would,
for chip paint on
Right.
their homes.
right, I would argue that that isn't a devastating blow because the reason we do code enforcement is to maintain our town and have our sidewalks be walkable and not dangerous. The reason we go and invest in all of our street corners with ADA ramps is because we're putting that investment into our town. So for us not to expect our homeowners and us as homeowners to expect to get away with not maintaining the sidewalk out front of my house and allowing there to be trip hazards and all sorts of things, that's I should assume that I'm gonna have to repair what's broken in front of my place.
It's not just concrete, it's brick
I
too.
would love to agree with you on that. I would.
Maybe we need to ask codes how many sidewalks there are gonna be.
Obviously, Water Street, there's a problem. The curb's falling in.
Yeah, but they're not cited by code, but Todd said.
But that's what I'm saying.
Here's
This
here's
didn't happen overnight.
here's what's
This isn't
different.
The only street.
Here's what's different about that situation is that you have an entire street line where the curb is falling in, and it's not like someone drove into their curb or during a project at their house, they, messed up the curb and it's broken.
What about,
And so it's deemed a street project.
what about the homeowner that has a tree in the sidewalk? They really wants to cut down.
Mm-hmm.
The shade tree says, no, that's a very important tree in this community. We didn't recommend you don't cut it down. But that tree ends up destroying their sidewalk.
Mm-hmm. There are methods of repairing that, though.
Of course, at the owner's expense.
Correct. But
So, I mean, I think we start stepping on toes.
but we have to start somewhere. That's the thing. We aim at something and move forward one step at a time.
It just happened. Up on Oak Street, sidewalk was raised up from the 2 houses down from the town square. Sidewalk was raised up from the tree, they just replaced the sidewalk. The homeowner.
Sharon?
Just wanted to speak to what Peter said about the sidewalks being, safety risk with tripping and so forth, like that. Because I walk through town every day, and even more so than that, I think there's another danger that you're walking along and there's a sidewalk and then suddenly ends, and you're either going to walk through the person's front yard or
That's
you're
exactly
going
what I was
into
gonna
the
say,
street.
actually.
And there are several, it's not just one or two. There are several areas like that. There's even one area, I believe, where there's a handicap ramp and then it goes nowhere. It's like, it stops. But you almost, and you don't just walk along the edge of the curb, but if there's people parked there, you're out in the lane of travel to get around that area. So I just wanted to put that out there, and I agree with Eric, though. I think it would be awful to have to expect all these people to have to take out loans or whatever they would have to do, because sidewalks are thousands of dollars, even to just repair 1 or 2 squares. And it is a lot of money for people who are on fixed incomes now, so I just wanted to bring my 2 cents in. Thank you.
They did that to 2 properties in Washington City, where I did place many squares. It was, again, what was really cool is that they had a city loan program. What's keeping us from maybe working with our bank to manage a loan program for residents to plug into, to make the payments to the bank?
We'd have to be a co-signer for that loan, and I don't think that's.
I mean, what I can tell you, what some municipalities do, and I know Derek has experienced this, is they will do the project. They'll, if there's, a block of homeowners that needs new, and then either they put them on a payment plan, and if they don't pay, what they'll do is they'll file a lien against the person's house until it's paid off, and then the lien will go away. That's not a great way, because that lien will affect your credit, and technically it's a default on your mortgage if you have a mortgage. But that is what some municipalities will do if people can't pay to repair a sidewalk that needs to get paid, is they'll go ahead and do it, and you pay us over time, but we're going to file a lien against your house until it gets paid off. That is an option where you wouldn't have to be a co-signer on any loan, but you're essentially financing it yourself.
I mean, that could work very similar to UGI and the water company.
Mm-hmm.
They go around and they'll cut sidewalks, and then they'll get a bid from a contractor, and they may do 10, 15, 20 or whatever, and basically they're getting the economy of scale.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something the borough could look at. You have so many, you identify X amount of sidewalk that needs to be replaced, you notify the property owner, you get a bid to do it all, and the property owner is paying a lot less by going to economy of scale.
And even repaired squares, not new
Yeah,
squares.
that's what I mean, repair squares.
What about new squares?
You might have 25, 30 of them in one batch.
Yep.
You're gonna get a better deal than if you do 3.
the sheriff's point, and what's more dangerous? Walking on a curb that may have, or sidewalk that may have some cracks, a little bit uneven, perhaps. Or walking off a curb into somebody's property or out in the traffic. I mean, we just talked at the last work session about Ridge Avenue. Us having an impact, the borough's gonna have an impact on the traffic down there. Because people are already complaining about no place to walk their dogs on that stretch of Ridge Avenue. We're gonna compound the problem there for sure. Maybe now's the time to talk about a mandatory sidewalk installation program or something. I don't know. That's what we want to achieve, right? Sidewalks all over the borough.
It's not
But
gonna
we're
happen.
hoping that maybe it'll get done in some century.
And it won't voluntarily happen by itself. It won't voluntarily happen by itself. At some point, it's gonna be something that's gonna be mandated. It's not gonna voluntarily just happen by itself. People just go out and do it. At some point, it's
Yeah,
gonna have to
right.
be, if you wanna be, especially if you wanna have economies of scale, you're gonna have to have something in place that's gonna tell you, you gotta do it.
Project or something. I don't know. What's that look like? What happens when you need a new roof? Well, roof guy. And who pays for it? Your insurance depends on the tornado hit or not. You pay for it because
pay
you're
for
the
it,
property
you pay
owner,
for
right?
insurance.
If your sidewalk needs to be repaired, you pay for it because you're the property owner. That's part of owning property.
And this is part of what's changed in here is relaxing the requirement of a 60-day notice to make it much longer so that it gives homeowner time to formulate a plan and time to get their sidewalk within compliance. The other thing that we often talk about in some of these discussions is the impact of landlords and the rentals throughout town. Would we not expect, or do we want to cut our landlords a break for the sidewalk that's in front of those rental units?
They get a break already.
Depends where they are.
They get a break already.
In what way?
CBD funding,
CDBG.
CBD, whatever.
Then only when the project runs their street.
Really? Talk demographics, what is it, 63, 68% Columbia?
A little less than that now, but
Qualified?
yeah,
Is that what you're saying? Is in that zone?
yeah.
So what's the advantage unless we're doing a CBDG project on that street? We're not doing it- we're not-
CDBG.
That's the problem.
Community development block grant.
Council,
Community
if I,
development.
council, if I could
Yes.
could I bring you all back to center here for a
Yes,
second?
please.
Thank you.
So-
Because I'm not quite
Thank
sure how to do
You,
that.
you guys have a lot of policy decisions ahead of you, and this is not, we've kind of heard a lot of these conversations, but what I want to offer you is this ordinance is allowing you the flexibility to have those policy decisions in the future. If you want to determine that hey, tomorrow we're going to say that everyone in the borough has to have sidewalk, and we're passing an ordinance that says you have to do it in 90 days. You can do that, and this ordinance would support you. Evan brought up about the financing end of things. We previously talked, one of the reasons, Barbara, that I didn't do that map is some streets, we are going to want to approach it in a manner to say, we're putting in the curb and we're putting in the sidewalk, because it might be something like Second Street where we only have 4.5 feet. I can't put the curb in and then wait for you to put the sidewalk in as a homeowner, or let you put the sidewalk in first, because then I can't put curb in against that. So, or we could have a project like out on 800 block of Chestnut Street. I can put the curb in and the residents can fix their sidewalk whenever you tell them to. So it's really different. You have a vast amount of street cross sections in this borough. Some with no sidewalk at all, some with grass strips, some with very wide sidewalks, like on 800 block of Walnut Street,
Yeah.
where Kelly's at. Some
some
with very narrow. So I would like to preserve that flexibility that you have as a council now and for future councils to say this is the best decision for this project. And that's what this ordinance is trying to achieve. I'm not trying to paint you into a corner of this is what we're doing and darn it. So the last piece I'll say is, again, the enforcement of failing curbs and sidewalks, it's in your ordinance now. It's in your ordinance now. It's just unclear as to what constitutes a failing curb or a failing sidewalk. We fixed that. Whether you want to act on that, that's your decision for a future debate. But I request you pass this ordinance and push it forward so that you have the power to do more with curb and sidewalks in the future.
Yeah.
Sorry if I got a sidetrack.
Thanks, Derek.
Not at all.
Yeah, thanks for bringing us back. I wasn't quite sure how to do that, because we were talking policy, and that's different from the ordinance and.
I don't like policy. That's your
That's
job.
not engineering thinking.
But I can talk to you about cross slope and thickness and all that other good stuff.
So, questions or comments on the ordinance part of it? That's okay, no, one just you, we all kind of went off the rails. All right, so I have a motion by Councilperson Stahl and a second by Councilperson Murphy to authorize staff and the borough attorney to advertise an ordinance establishing new regulations relating to the construction and maintenance of curbs and sidewalks in the borough. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, could I have a motion to authorize staff and borough engineer to execute a contract with Land Studies for the needed maintenance for the Shawnee Run Stream Corridor? I have a motion by Councilperson Burgard, second by Councilperson Price, to authorize staff and borough engineer to execute a contract with Land Studies for needed maintenance for Shawnee Run Stream Corridor. Questions, comments, concerns?
I don't have my notes in the second email. Could you tell me the cost of this project?
This is 21,885. And we pay half. It's a 50-50 share between us and the Columbia Catholic Housing. So this is based on the project we did a couple years ago. This is just needed maintenance, mainly on the eastern side of the stream corridor. There's some erosion things happening. They need to go back in and restabilize some stuff. Just briefly, and Derek, if you want to get into the details, you can. When we started the project, we were concerned about the soils that were on the bank because there was a lot of old fill material in there, and they hoped they had compacted it and done the best they can. But as we know, and I quote the mayor often, you can't put a shovel in Columbia without hitting foundry sand. Some of the soils there just didn't hold. And as sediment builds up and it puts pressure on the other bank, these are starting to erode the bank down a little bit. So it's just kind of armoring the bank in a few spots to help stop that process is what's needed right now.
Well said.
Talk like an engineer for a second, that hurt.
Any questions, comments, concerns?
So to be clear, this 21,885 would be cut in half.
In half, yeah. That's the total project cost, and we'll split it half with them. Yep.
I noticed that the recommended sources of funds isn't filled out, so where is half of that going to?
Oh, I should hit that.
What fund is it going to come from?
We budgeted money in the budget. I apologize, I missed that. It's in there. We have money for the Shawnee Run project.
And Fund 01 or 18?
It's in, I'm trying to remember if it was 18 or if we put it in the ARPA 21, but it was one of those two. It's definitely, I think it's 18 though.
Questions, comments?
This is something that we talked about so many times. That project was a phase 4 project. We got credits for that project.
Yeah.
And we always talk about when we do these projects, who's going to do the maintenance? Well, now you're at the point where you got credit for it. You got to come back and do the maintenance.
Yep.
This is I'll say the first one that's kind of going to bring that back to reality.
Mhm.
That you can create these projects. Be careful because you're probably going to have to do some maintenance to it and maintain it.
I will add, we do have an annual maintenance contract with Land Studies. That contract has mainly been for vegetation maintenance, which is important here to keep the invasives from taking over. They also do our required monitoring and maintenance reports. So again, this bank scour is just something that kind of popped up within the last couple of years and has just continued to get worse. So it's at a point where we have to address it. It isn't going to naturally fix itself. So.
Anything else? All right. I have a motion by Councilperson Brigard, second by Councilperson Price, to authorize staff and the borough engineer to execute contract land studies for the needed maintenance for the Shawnee Run Stream corridor. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, could I have a motion to authorize the bill payments? I have a motion by Councilperson Price and second by Councilperson Kaufman to authorize the bill payments. Are there any questions? There's nothing that stuck out to me. I don't think there was. No. All right. I have a motion by Councilperson Price, second by Councilperson Kaufman to authorize the bill payments. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, new business. We have, a part-time police officer. We've been asked to authorize staff to extend an offer of employment to Aaron Hahn for the position of part-time police officer. Are there any questions? Does anyone have an issue voting on this one tonight? Do I have a motion to authorize staff to extend the offer of employment? I have a motion by Councilperson Brigard and a second by Councilperson Price to authorize staff to extend an offer of employment to Aaron Hahn for the position of part-time police officer. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
What kind of training do they have to get? Can they just be hired and know nothing, or?
No.
No, I know that too.
This particular officer is a full-time officer in Barneyville. He's been an officer for about 8 years, so he has all the requisite training. He is highly regarded. He's also a member of the CERT team and a firearms instructor. He's had a tremendous amount of training. He's done a ride-along with our officers, spent some time, a panel, including myself, interviewed him, and he was recommended for hiring. So,
I guess my question is, if somebody has no experience, and they wouldn't say, okay, I will be a part-time police officer,
No.
how many hours is involved, or you can't do it?
No. They have to be Act 120 certified.
You can get that, though.
You can get that.
right, we have a field training process as well, which lasts typically 3 to 4 months. So, there's an extensive amount of training that goes into
On the job, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
All right, well, we got a part-time officer, another one. That's good. Next, we're asked to consider authorizing staff to contract with ELA Group to develop the site plan for the McGinnis Innovation Park.
So this is
This is just about done though,
yeah.
right?
So this is just their piece, the last piece to do all the final site plan work.
I'm gonna say, I thought we were pretty well
Yep.
done with that. This is just the final formality.
Final, yep, get it over the line.
All right.
And this is the last thing before getting bulldozers out there.
No, technically the bulldozers are already coming. Okay. We already have our permit into the conservation district to begin the remediation work. That's already been reviewed and approved and authorized. This is the next phase to actually lay out the road, sewer, water, all the infrastructure stuff to get all that in place to do the next phase, which will be putting all that in. So the bulldozers will be there before, pre this contract. This is the last contract needed from ELA to do all the final site work so we can get it done.
So when are the bulldozers coming?
Well, as soon as the conservation district releases the plans, and this is, as you have heard, Heather, multiple times through things, the DEP process can just be painfully long. The conservation district isn't technically DEP, but they're an arm of, and these processes can take a while. Some go quick, some can take months.
We cleaned out my vestibule and I found the hard hat, so I'm ready.
You're ready.
I'm ready for the ceremony.
I mean, there have been complaints, if you guys have heard a lot of this, sometimes the DEP process in these projects can take up to 18 months. It's just, I know that they've been hammered recently on the timeline. I know that the governor has come down hard on them saying, this is ridiculous. PennDOT highway occupancy permits and DEP permits should not be taking years to get through the system.
All right, does anyone have a issue voting on this one tonight? All right, do I have a motion to authorize staff to contract with ELA Group to develop the site plan for the McGinnis Innovation Park?
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman and a second by Councilperson Brigard to authorize staff to contract with ELA Group. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Next, we're asked to consider authorizing staff and the borough attorney to advertise an ordinance establishing a 66-foot right-of-way in the 100 and 200 block of Walnut Street. I'm guessing this is for the
Walnut Street project down
Walnut
there.
Street project and the bike lane and.
This is, we were just lamenting about the PennDOT and the DEP process. This is one of those fun pieces that we need to go through because it's PennDOT. Because we were unable to locate a formal ordinance in the borough's archives of ever adopting Walnut as officially a 66-foot right-of-way, we need to do that piece now to prove to PennDOT that we own the road. So.
Yep. All right. Anyone have a problem voting on this one? Do I have a motion to authorize staff and the borough attorney to advertise an ordinance establishing a 66-foot right-of-way on the 100 and 200 block of Walnut Street?
So moved.
A motion by Councilperson Stahl, second by Councilperson Murphy, to authorize staff and the borough attorney to advertise an ordinance establishing the 66-foot right-of-way. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, and next, 12D, we have a special event application to allow a block party in the 900 block of Chestnut Street on August 3rd from 3 to 11 p.m. contingent upon receipt of the required certificate of insurance. This is the yearly 900 block party.
Yep.
Yep.
Been there a while.
Yep. Anyone have a problem voting on this one?
Well, I see that they have base music and food, and the event is going to 10 o'clock, so do we tell them to cut the music at 9 or?
Virtually the entire neighborhood, or not virtually, the entire neighborhood's involved.
Whole neighborhood.
Yes.
It's a neighborhood park.
So we're making an exception for Chestnut Street.
Well,
They can go to 10 o'clock.
It's a special
if they
event.
get a call, they have to respond.
Yeah. All right. Do I have a motion to approve the special event application to allow a block party on the 900 block of Chestnut Street on August 3rd from 3 to 11 p.m.? Motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Price to approve a special event application to allow a block party on the 900 block of Chestnut Street. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? I keep saying I'm gonna come up this year, maybe I'll show up. I'm gonna come take some of your potatoes.
People worked out well.
Yeah, he even came when I wasn't there once.
Yeah, I'm gonna sort his potatoes, 'cause I've never seen potatoes like that. Yeah. All right. And now we are up to item 12E. These are the items that we added. Could I have a motion to acknowledge the resignation of Borough Manager Stivers?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Murphy to acknowledge the resignation of Borough Manager Stivers. I'd like to note here that this is not the result of anything on the borough's end. This was Mark's choice. It's not the result of any suspected wrongdoing or anything like that. This was Mark's choice. And we appreciate the last 4 years and wish him well in the future. As this is a personnel decision, we're not going to get into any specifics or anything like that this evening. Are there any other questions, comments, or concerns?
I would just say with regret.
I know.
With regret.
Thank you.
Mark, we'll talk about this more, but
We got him on.
fabulous job.
Yes, Frank.
There was a borough manager here that was a good friend of mine years back. And I really didn't realize it, being not a good friend of his. I got to see the things that he was doing. And regardless who you are when you come here, or any of these positions that you're in, you get burned out. I mean, you're not dealing with 2 or 3 people or whatever. You have 7 council people that probably goes different ways. You have borough manager, chief. You have so many issues. Whatever reason you're leaving, I don't know. I wish you luck for one. But I can see how it takes a toll on you. And you was here 4 years. I didn't realize that.
4 years.
Well, the question is, how long will you be here yet? Will you stay here till another manager's hired? Will you be here another month? Will you be here 2 months?
So I gave 4 weeks notice to give a transition time, but I've told council, and I'll say here that after I'm gone, if there's questions come up, if you need help with something or you can't find something, I will always be available to help and make sure the transition goes smooth.
I had some questions. I was holding back on the gas property and water part out there and all. I'll try and get them to the next meeting so I can, because you're in the know right now, and we got a new borough manager, he's going to run all that.
Yep.
So, like I say, I wish you well wherever you're going.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say it's been an honor and a privilege to work here. And I want to make a very clear statement that this is just a personal choice. Frank, you hinted to it. It's a lot of pressure on this job. I've been basically doing this job in a similar place or different places for the past 25 years now. And after a while you say, you know what, it's time to slow down and take a breath. This town is amazing. And when I came here, I said that, I was excited for the opportunities that I see here in Columbia, and we've seen some realized. I said from the beginning too, that this wasn't my initiative. This is me taking the opportunity to catch the energy that was already here and the motivation of the last 20 years that have really tried to bring change to this community. And you see it. You see the change on up and down Locust Street and in the parks and storefronts filling up. So I had the privilege of just being part of that transition, and it's been a pleasure of mine to serve this way. So I just want to thank you all for the opportunity, And again, I'll look forward to the transition, but I know that there's still a lot of good coming to this community.
Anything else? I'll talk real slow so I can have Joanne. All right, I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Murphy, to acknowledge the resignation of Borough Manager Stivers. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, 12F. Could I have a motion to authorize the advertisement of the borough manager position?
Second.
A motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to authorize the advertisement of the borough manager position. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? And then we are down to 13, staff reports, comments, and announcements. Solicitor Gabriel.
Not too much more to report tonight. Certainly have a lot of advertising to do this coming week, but I'll make sure we get all those things into LNP so that those are ready to go for your next meeting. We are also going to have a hearing on your cable franchise agreement. So if anyone's out there watching at the meeting on the 25th, we'll talk about that. If you have any issues that you've had with your cable, or if you have them for broadband service, that's when you want to talk about them, because we have to consider renewing that cable franchise agreement here shortly. So just wanted to put that out there for anybody who is listening, or for anybody that's here. So, but again, we'll have lots of things ready for you next meeting to vote on. So we'll go from there.
Where are we at with the lease for the firehouse?
I will check on that. I believe they are reviewing that now. We'll follow up with them and make sure that we get that taken care of.
You sent it to them, the draft.
Yeah.
Are
They
they
has it, so.
paying the increased rate yet?
No,
No,
that
not
once the
until
lease
that's
gets signed, then we'll
Yeah,
get the
yeah,
new rate
How
in
long
place.
do they have to sign that? I mean, can they sit and?
We'll push a little bit. Yeah. We
We
gave
need
that to
push
them a little
lot
while.
Because we're losing money
Yeah.
every month that's out there.
Yep.
All right, borough engineer.
Okay, we mentioned earlier again, good progress out there on Union Street. That project will wrap up here in the next couple of weeks. You'll have bids for the ADA ramp curb sidewalk work for your next meeting. Those bids open 19th of June. We held a kickoff meeting yesterday with Cornerstone for the Ridge Avenue Public Works Building. They also had their MEP Paragon with them, so we talked through a lot of our goals, and it was about an hour and a half. I mean, we got into even what kind of garage door clickers we were thinking about. So it was a really good meeting. I feel really good about the team and moving forward. And then also on Ridge Avenue, I met with Jake and ECS out there today to start drafting the revised Act 2 covenants. So we're moving.
Awesome. All right, and Secretary Fisher.
Nothing else tonight. Derek stole the few that I was going to throw in there,
Wow.
so I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Boards, commissions, and committees. Upcoming meeting on June 12th, which is tomorrow. 7 p.m. is HARB. Parks and Rec is June 13th, which is Thursday at 6 p.m. Planning Commission is holding a workshop at 6 o'clock on June 18th prior to their regular meeting on at 7 p.m. that same night. And the Shade Tree Commission is meeting on June 24th at 6 p.m. There are no approved minutes in your packet. And we have Borough Council comments. We'll go with Councilperson Stahl.
Nothing, thanks.
Nothing with me.
No.
Thank you. You can always text my gov and contact me if you need to.
I was just gonna say that, like, where's the on this past Sunday, there was a Flag Day ceremony in the park. This Friday, the 14th, is Flag Day, 3 p.m. is pause to honor the flag. So 3 p.m., take a moment, think about our flag and what it means to you, and pause for the flag. The next meeting at 7 p.m. on June 25th, we will hold a regular council meeting. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Price, to adjourn at 8:52 p.m. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? We're adjourned. No.
Check the side.
Well, yeah, we have checks to sign though.
Yeah. That's when Tammy likes dropping off a big, heavy chunk of area. So she doesn't have to carry it all the way down.
There he is.
I was saying, what about the pesky bowl?
There ain't none made out of here, but.
She must take it to her mother.
Oh, good.
I was gonna say, might as well go for it.
I had some highlights in the.
Well, we got to
Hey,
the last 2 days. I went to a Cubs game.
Oh, that's right.
That's
right.
One time Todd
It's really.
That was awesome.
Summer story for the.
LUS.
That year, like,